Good morning, sixth graders. Welcome to another awesome day in social studies. Today, we're going to try something a little different. We are going to have story time with Mr. Sauerman. That's right. Sit back, relax, enjoy. I'm going to be telling you about one of the first stories ever written down. Well, maybe. I don't know. That's what they say. Is it true? I don't know. All we know is that this story is super, super, super old. So old that it was written on stone tablets that we eventually found. Someone was able to read it or understand what the story was saying. And then this is a story that we know that ancient Mesopotamians, or ancient people that lived in the Middle East, they would tell to their kids or their family members or something like that, right? And just like stories we tell today, these stories were meant to teach people about life and teach you life lessons without actually giving you real world examples, right? They're stories. It's interesting. Is some of this exaggerated? 100%. But it's supposed to be like kind of a story that kids thought were cool and they could learn a little bit something too. So the story is we're going to read the Epic of Gilgamesh. You're probably wondering, what's an epic? An epic is just a story. It's just a story with a hero in which they go on awesome adventures and they do great things. And that's exactly what this guy named Gilgamesh did. So I'm going to be reading to you the Epic of Gilgamesh today. Please be paying attention, trying to understand, what is this story trying to teach me? Why would they share this story to different kids? And we're going to learn a little bit along the way. So without further ado, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay. So our story starts in this city of Uruk. Okay. It's an ancient Mesopotamian city way long ago. It's this big, beautiful city. It's awesome. And there's a guy in charge, and his name is Gilgamesh. King Gilgamesh to you. There's a picture of Gilgamesh there to the left. He's a super buff, super powerful guy. He's the king of Uruk. And like, he was so cool and so crazy that most statues of him, as you can see next to the other picture of him, they have him like putting lions in headlocks. Like, this dude did not mess around. He could see lions, grab them, and put lions in headlock. This dude was the real man, okay? So the story goes is that Gilgamesh is 2/3 God and he's 1/3 human. His dad was a king and his mom was like a god or goddess. I don't know how they got 2/3, 1/3. You do the math with that one. But he's known as the greatest king on earth. He's the strongest superhuman that has ever existed, right? This guy, he knows what's up. However, he's a terrible king, right? He's awful. He treats the people of Uruk terribly. It's the classic example of like a guy that thinks he's so great and so awesome, but actually everyone around him can't stand him. The people of Uruk hate Gilgamesh, okay? And there's stories of Gilgamesh where he's like, if anyone ever gets married, every single marriage that happens in Uruk, not only do you get to marry the girl, but I get to marry the girl too. So he was married to like thousands of different women in Uruk. If I was like a young guy and I was just getting married, I'd be like, dude, can you please not marry my wife too, Gilgamesh? Great. That'd be awesome. Thanks. I don't like you. You're a bad king. So people are really upset. They don't like Gilgamesh. So what they do is they pray to the sky god. Okay. And the sky god's name is Anu, very powerful god in ancient Mesopotamia. And they pray to Anu and they're like, please, Anu, help us. This guy is the worst king ever. We hate him. And so Anu's like, let me see what I can do, homies. I'll set you up. So he goes out to the woods that's surrounding Uruk. And the story is that he gets some clay and he gets some water and he gets some wood and he like makes this human-like figure and then boom, hits it with a little magic and turns it into a wild, crazy beast called Enkidu. Enkidu is our other really important character in the story. So there's Enkidu there. He's like this wild animal, goat, wolf mix. Like, he's a wild animal, okay? He's crazy. And they were saying that Anu is like, I'm going to make this guy, and this is going to be the arch rival of Gilgamesh. This is going to be the thing that's going to kill Gilgamesh someday, right? He's going to help the people of Uruk out. So story goes is that there's a trapper's son. There he is on the screen there. He's a kid, and he's got these traps all set up in the woods. And Enkidu and his homeboy, deer or wolf or whatever wild animals he runs with, they always mess with this kid's trap. They're like, we got that kid again. He set his trap. Like, got him again. Roasted, right? And so finally this kid is like, I am so sick of this human-like beast thing running with these animals, messing with my traps. So he does what all kids do. They go tell on him to their dad. And he goes, Dad, this thing keeps messing with my traps. I'm getting super mad at it, and I really don't like him. And the dad's like, Well, I have a brilliant idea. Why don't you go into the city, right? Because they live out in the country. Go into the city and get one of the temple harlots. Her name is Shamhat. Okay. Go get Shamhat, take Shamhat to the woods. Enkidu is going to fall in love with Shamhat, right? And it's all going to be solved. He'll quit messing with you. So the kid does just that. He goes into the temple of the city. He's like, hey, I got a problem. You're going to fix it. And she's like, what am I supposed to do about it? And he's like, you're super pretty. If you go in the woods, he's going to fall in love with you. And then maybe he'll quit messing with my stuff, right? And this is like a kid. Like, can you imagine sending a kid being like, go figure this out, kid, right? So Shamhat's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. She's like, I am like super gorgeous and super beautiful. And men fall in love with me as soon as they see me. So I'm up to the challenge, right? So Shamhat goes out to the woods. She goes to the watering hole where she knows Enkidu is. And, she just kind of sits around the watering hole waiting for Enkidu to show up. Enkidu shows up with his buddies, being all wild and stuff like that. And he sees her from across the pond. And he's like, homeboys, anyone see what's on the other side of the watering hole? It's like, I have a crush on that chick. And she goes, hey, Enkidu, how you doing? And he's like, I love you. Right out of the gates, he's like, you're perfect. I love you. I want to marry you forever. And she's like, okay, sounds good. But you have to say that you are going to fall in love with me and be with me forever. And Enkidu's like, sure, I'll say whatever you want me to say. I don't care. And instantly, as soon as he confesses his love for Shamhat, he loses his wildness. He loses like his crazy side, basically. He even loses some of his strength, but he like gains understanding and knowledge. He becomes smarter. He's like, oh, I'm like part human. I should probably act like a human instead of a wild animal. So Shamhat's like, I don't want to live at your house. Your house is gross. It's just in the woods. I hate that. You should come live at my house. And Enkidu's like, whatever you want, baby. I'll do whatever you say. So she takes him back to Uruk, and obviously you can see where this is going. Enkidu shows back up. Gilgamesh is there in Uruk, and these two are not going to like each other. But we got to remember, though, first, it's not like Enkidu went from being this crazy wild animal to all of a sudden being like a normal human. He had to like learn how to become a human and learn that living in a civilization is way better than living out in the wild woods, right? So he starts learning how to wear clothes, which is important in public. Please do so, right? He learns how to speak a language. He learns how to talk to people. It even says that he had to learn how to like eat using utensils and things like that. All things that we think are normal. Enkidu's like, I don't know how to do any of that. I just ate grass and stuff like that, right? So he starts living with these shepherds. He starts learning how to be like a real human, right? And then all of a sudden, there's a huge celebration going on in the middle of Uruk, and Enkidu's interested. He's like, what's this huge celebration all about? And he goes there and he sees Gilgamesh. And for some reason, he knows he hates Gilgamesh. And he knows that he has this purpose, right? The people wanted Enkidu to be created to fight Gilgamesh. So Gilgamesh comes walking on the hallway, and Enkidu pulls a bold move. He just like stands in front of him. He's like, what's up, bro? Like, you want to fight me? And Gilgamesh is like, dude, I will kill you, bro. Get out of my face. It's like two like guys just like flexing at each other. And Enkidu's like, you're a terrible king and you're awful to your people, and stop marrying everyone's wives. They think it's super annoying and they get really frustrated when you do that. And Gilgamesh just goes, bro, I'm about to headbutt you if you don't get out of my way. Well, not a shocker. They start getting in a massive fight, right? And Enkidu and Gilgamesh brawl it out. They're fighting, punching, kicking, biting, pulling out all the tricks until Gilgamesh wins. I know, it's a bummer. Gilgamesh is like so mean. He's terrible to his people, but he beats Enkidu. Nothing I can do about it, right? And so he eventually beats Enkidu, and then it's like the most bro-y of bro things ever happens. They look at each other after a fight, and they're like, that was a good fight. You want to be best friends? And Enkidu and Gilgamesh are like, yeah, let's be best friends. I don't know why the story is that way, but then they totally become best friends. Enkidu's like, I get it. You stronger. And then they're best friends, right? So thing is, though, is like they're best friends and they're the two strongest guys around. And so they get super lazy. They eventually just like stop doing fun things. Like here's a picture of them just like watching Netflix. And it's like they're an old retired couple who just hang out and they're just like bored, right? They're just like, yeah, they got fat and they got lazy and stuff like that. Until one day Gilgamesh is like, dude, you remember when we used to go on adventures, right? We used to go fight people and do stuff. let's go on an adventure. And Enkidu's like, why? Like, we live in the best city. We have the coolest house. I just got PS5. Like, why should we go on an adventure? We should just stay home. And Gilgamesh goes, hey, I got an idea. You, me, let's go to the cedar forest in Iran. Okay. Let's cut down all the cedar trees, right? And then we're going to go kill this guy named Humbaba. He's the demon that lives in the forest. And Enkidu's like, that's kind of a weird adventure, right? Guys, would you ever look at your friends and be like, do you guys want to go to the woods, chop down a bunch of trees, and then kill a demon? Like, how fun does that sound? And Enkidu, though, remember, Enkidu used to live in the woods. He knows who Humbaba is. And he's like, I don't think you should go. Humbaba's going to mess you up if we go there. But eventually, Gilgamesh is like, dude, shut up, man. Let's go fight this guy. And they're like, all right, let's go fight him. So on their journey out there, they're going over mountains and they go on this huge adventure, right? Gilgamesh, like, he's getting a little nervous, right? And he starts praying to this god named Shamash. So there's Shamash. She's a pretty reoccurring character. She'll show up again, right? And he prays and prays and prays. She sends Gilgamesh some dreams. They freak him out, right? They freak out Gilgamesh, like, I've had all these messed up dreams, man. And Enkidu's like, no, dude, it's all good. Like, all these dreams are good stuff. And Gilgamesh is like, oh, okay. He goes, so you think that she'll protect me? And Enkidu's like, sure, man, she'll protect you. No problem. Like, I don't think Enkidu knows what he's talking about at all. Okay. But they get courage. They decide, yeah, we should still go fight this guy. So they show up at the gates of the cedar forest. They're ready to start cutting down all the trees. And Gilgamesh gets super scared. He is terrified, right? After he's terrified, okay, Shamash calls down from heaven. She's like, don't worry, man. I've got some secret information. Okay, you don't need to be scared. Humbaba normally wears 7 layers of armor, but he only has 6 on. He only has 1 on. He took off 6. So he's super vulnerable. So if you're going to attack, now's the time to cut down all the trees, and now's the time to go fight him. Okay. And so here and there, he goes, oh, great, now's the time to strike. But he tells it to Enkidu, and Enkidu's like, you know how I said that it was going to be good? Well, now I'm kind of scared, and I don't want to go fight him. So they do as everybody and his friend do. They just are like, I'm leaving. He's like, dude, don't. And then they just get in like a massive fist fight outside of the cedar forest, right? Totally blow their cover, totally make a ton of noise. And then all of a sudden, Humbaba comes out of the woods, and he's like, hey, kids, get off my lawn. He's like that old guy in your neighborhood that's like, quit playing in my yard, you silly kids, right? And so then they start fighting, or they don't start fighting him yet, but he shows up and he's like, what's going on? So they have no sense of surprise whatsoever. So what happens though is it's actually kind of funny because Enkidu, who just was super scared, he starts talking mad trash to Humbaba. He starts being like, hey, we're both way stronger than you. You're really stupid. You have bad hair, right? He just like totally starts picking on Humbaba. And Humbaba is like, who's this wild animal? And he actually starts making fun of Gilgamesh. He looks at Gilgamesh and goes, why are you listening to Enkidu? Enkidu's like this wild half animal breed thing. That's your best friend? Are you serious? You're supposed to be a superhuman. Why are you friends with this, right? And so he turns himself into gets like a super scary mask, kind of like the picture on there. And then Gilgamesh is like, I'm really scared. He makes really valid points and I'm insecure with my friendships, right? And then Enkidu's like, bro, don't do it. We're going to kill this guy. If you probably didn't pick up, there's a lot of like getting scared, running away, but then coming back immediately. And I don't know why that's in the story all the time, but it is, right? Shamash shows up though. She's like, guys, the 3 of us, we can kill Humbaba. So there's Shamash. She shows up, right? She starts throwing like lightning bolts at Humbaba, which frankly, totally not fair. Seems like a cheat code to me, right? 2 guys fighting a demon, and then they just like, the god totally helps them, right? Eventually though, long story short, they win the upper hand. Shamash helps them. They've got Humbaba on his knees. He is praying to Gilgamesh. Humbaba's like, he was talking mad trash before, and now he's like a baby. He's like, please don't kill me. I'm really sorry about everything I did. I didn't eat breakfast today. I've just been upset lately. Oh, it's just so stressful, right? He goes, I'll give you all the trees in the cedar forest, right? I'll give you the gate of the cedar forest. I will be your personal slave. Just please don't kill me, right? And Gilgamesh is thinking this over. He goes, what's cooler, me killing a forest demon or me having the forest demon's forest and he's my slave forever, right? Like, that seems like a pretty cool deal. Enkidu steps in though. Enkidu's like, no, bro. kill him. Like, he was talking trash. I'm upset. You need to cut off Humbaba's head. Because guess what? The gods are going to show up. And if the gods see you kill Humbaba, they're going to get mad at you, Gilgamesh. They don't think a demon should be your slave. So you should kill him now before the gods show up. Right? And so Gilgamesh is like, good point, homie. Let's cut this dude's head off. And he slices Humbaba's head clean off. But rewind. Before he does it, Humbaba looks at Enkidu on his knees, begging for forgiveness. And he looks at Enkidu, who just convinced Gilgamesh to kill him. He said, Enkidu, between you and Gilgamesh, you're going to die first. And you're not going to find any peace in this world until you die. So he basically cursed him right before he killed him. And Enkidu's like, oh. And as soon as he said that, Gilgamesh then cut his head off. And Enkidu's like, anyone else hear what Humbaba said right before Gilgamesh killed him? Because that's a little concerning, right? He cursed him. So, as you can probably guess, the two make their way back to the city. They're carrying around like Humbaba's dead body, and they're like crushing it. And everyone in Uruk was like, "Yeah, like these guys rock." It's like a Super Bowl parade. Everyone's super pumped, right? And Gilgamesh up here like, "I crushed it. Yeah, I totally killed those." And Enkidu's a little nervous. He's like, "That dude said I wasn't going to find any peace in the world and that I was going to die before Gilgamesh," right? So there's a girl in the crowd, though, right? Every good story's got girls interested in, the super cool guy, even though Gilgamesh totally isn't that cool. But Ishtar is her name. She's a goddess, right? And she's standing in the crowd, and she is interested in Gilgamesh. She's like, I love that guy. He just killed a forest demon. I want to marry him forever, right? And he's like, yeah, I do rock. Like, I'm not surprised you don't. Like, I'm surprised you didn't come talk to me sooner, because I am pretty successful, pretty rich, and pretty strong. And yeah, you should love me, right? So Ishtar gets to his palace. She's like, hey, I love you. I want to be your wife forever. Remember, Gilgamesh has got like thousands of wives, right? He's dated a lot of people, okay? And he's like, I'm not really sure. And then he remembers something about Ishtar that he forgot. Turns out Ishtar has had a lot of previous boyfriends, okay? And the kicker is every single person that Ishtar has dated in the past has secretly wound up dead. And it doesn't matter who they were, how famous they were, but all of Ishtar's ex-boyfriends are dead, right? And Gilgamesh is like, pass. I don't want to die. You seem a little crazy to me. And, Ishtar does what every normal person would do. She gets super cranky, complains a lot, and goes to her dad and complains. Turns out her dad is Anu, the sky god, the guy who made Enkidu, right? And she's kind of like a brat. She's like kind of like a whiny little kid, right? And she goes, Dad, Gilgamesh was super mean and he wouldn't marry me all because I killed all my ex-boyfriends, which like that's such a stupid reason not to like somebody. And I'm actually really caring if he just like got to know me. Give me the bowl of heaven and let me kill him and his whole city. And Anu, being the great supportive dad he is, he's like, no problem, sweetie. Here's the bowl of heaven. Destroy anything you want. Just make sure you're home by 8 o'clock. Okay. So Anu gives Ishtar the bowl of heaven. The bowl of heaven runs down to Uruk. This thing is powerful, right? The story goes that every time it breathes, fire comes out and cracks in the earth explode, and thousands of people in Uruk are dying. Thousands of people in Uruk are murdered and killed by the bowl of heaven because Ishtar got shot down, right? What are you going to do? So, being the heroes that they are, Enkidu and Gilgamesh show up and they're like, bro, it's about to go down. We got another beast to murder. So they fight the bowl of heaven, right? And they totally kill the bowl of heaven. Bowl of heaven does not stand a chance, right? But they don't just kill the bowl of heaven, right? They cut it up into like a bunch of parts. Kind of messed up, actually. I'd be like, guys, it's fine. You killed it, but then you went a little too far. You chopped its body up. Not super chill, right? Then what happens is as soon as the bull is dead, Enkidu starts talking trash to Ishtar too. He's like talking smack to all the gods and demons, right? He's like, Ishtar, I've always thought you were stupid and you have bad hair and you're so mean to people. And then he does something crazy. He rips the leg off of the bowl of heaven. He throws it at her face and hits a goddess in the face with a dead bull's leg. disrespectful. Enkidu. Oh, how could you do it, man? Not cool, right? So Ishtar is super mad. It was not chill of Enkidu to do that. I think we all saw this coming, right? Enkidu's not doing so good. Enkidu starts to get really sick and he starts to have really bad dreams. And he finds out that the chief gods all got together and they're like, no, bro. Bowl of heaven, Humbaba, they cut down the cedar forest. Someone's got to pay for all this, right? Too many gods and goddesses have been disrespected. We need some death, right? And they pick Enkidu, right? And it makes sense. Humbaba cursed him right before he died. Said, if you do this, you're going to die and it's going to be really bad. And so the three kings, the chief gods met and they're like, we're going to blame Enkidu. So they blame it all on Enkidu, and Enkidu is so mad about it. He's like sitting in his deathbed. He's like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, why is it all my fault? Like, that's not fair, right? And he turns into like a little kid who just starts getting mad and just starts like cursing everything. He goes, I hate the stupid woods that I used to live in. I hate that stupid girl who convinced me that I should go live in the city. I even hate that stupid kid who showed up and was messing with all the traps. Like, I think everyone is stupid and dumb, right? And then Shamash shows up, our old friend. She's the one that helped them kill Humbaba. And she's like, Enkidu, you need to calm down, buddy. You need to relax, right? It's like your parent talking you down after you've been a naughty kid. Hey, mister, stop it right now. You quit being such a Debbie Downer, Enkidu. Do you remember all the great things about civilization? Do you remember learning how to talk, eat, wearing clothing, learning friendship, going on adventures? You need to be more grateful for the life you had, mister. And Enkidu's like, he's fine. Like, I guess it wasn't so bad. He's like, actually, I'm pretty thankful for the woods, pretty thankful for my girlfriend. I'm even thankful for that little kid. Like, he was pretty cool, I guess, right? So he blesses all of them. And then, doesn't really matter, though. He gets dragged down to what's called the House of Dust. There's like a lot of similarities between this and another place that's always burning for eternity, and you go there if you do really bad things. You've probably heard of it before. But in this story, Enkidu is dragged down there for 12 days. And in the story, he describes it, how terrible it is down there. And basically, long story short, he goes, yeah, turns out everything's on fire. You are always thirsty. I can constantly feel burning flames all over my body. And yeah, it's a bummer, right? There's no Wi-Fi. So the House of Dust is a terrible place he gets dragged down to. And for some reason, he like gets to leave for a little bit and he goes back up to the real world right before he's about to really die. And he's laying on his deathbed and he looks at his best friend, Gilgamesh. He goes, bro, I'm going to miss you. I loved our friendships. I loved our adventures. And Gilgamesh hits him with a like new phone. Like, who is this? I don't even know who you are. No, I'm just kidding. Gilgamesh didn't say that. Gilgamesh, though, well, first of all, Enkidu dies. And Gilgamesh goes, I'm so sad. Like, I lost my best friend in the whole wide world, someone who actually understood me. And he actually has like this revelation thing of like, I should be a better person. Like, I shouldn't marry everyone's wives. They think that's super annoying, right? I shouldn't be going around killing all these demons and murdering people just because I can, right? I should be a better person. And actually, he lives a better life from here on out. And it changes who he is, right? Losing his best friend made him a better person, right? And I think that's why ancient Mesopotamians told their kids these stories, right? It's like, you can do bad things, but you shouldn't, right? And if you're Enkidu, it's better to live in a civilization and to have great things, work with people, rather than just like being a wild animal. Like, there's no fulfillments in life if you're just a wild animal. Friendships and people and stuff like that are important, and you shouldn't take them for granted because it's not all going to last. Just like their friendship, it eventually went away. So Enkidu learned that being civilized is better. Gilgamesh learned, like, just because I can be a jerk and I'm like the most powerful person ever doesn't mean I should be. I should treat my people with respect. I should be a better king. And before you know it, they learn a lot about themselves, right? And this is a story that people share with each other. It's a little random. It's a little crazy. There's lots of fighting and murdering and throwing of legs at people's faces and stuff like that. But it's supposed to teach you about life a little bit. And there are other stories that we share today where you're supposed to learn life lessons. And this is very similar to it. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you liked it a little bit. It's a little chaotic, a little crazy, but it's a really good story if you think about it. So thanks for stopping in today. I hope you enjoyed Story Time with Mr. Sauerman.